Yo, what's going on guys? It is Tox and welcome to Pokemon Radical Red. I enjoyed Pokemon Row quite a lot, so I decided to play something a little bit harder, but something that I would enjoy a bit more since I played Fire Red quite a bit. Hope you guys enjoy the video and let me know what you think down below. So as always, we start off by naming our character Toxette, just because it's been a running joke in my streams for quite a while, and our rival's name is Josh. I left this in here just to show you guys that this is a hardcore randomizer Nuzlocke. There's a lot of features that you can change, and just like Pokemon Row, like lots of settings you can update and make the game harder, make the game easier, or just play it completely normal. It's completely up to you. And I just wanted to play randomizer just because I thought, you know, randomizer games are a lot harder. You don't know what you're going to get as an encounter or a starter, and I thought it'd be extra fun. Our mum asked us what region we want our starter from, so I looked through the options and there's really only one. If you guys can predict, let me know down below. But the best one obviously is Sinnoh. The best starter Pokemon comes from Sinnoh. So we start walking up and some old man interrupts us as we're going to go for some me time. He comes up and then takes us back to his little laboratory. We go through our starter Pokemon and you can see on screen here that there's some decent options. Magikup's probably the worst because of how bad it is in the start. So we see a Papillon here, and I adore Papillon. I think Papillon is one of the coolest Pokemon, and we decided to take it as our starter. So we received Turtwig, which is Papillon. We nicknamed Papillon Charlie, and Josh challenged us to a battle. Now this battle was a little bit weird because I thought we were definitely stuffed after this infestation, but Charlie was able just to hang on a little bit, take some bubbles, take some infestation damage. We have an Oranberry which saved us, and then some pounds were able to take this thing down to the yellow and then down to the red. We live another bubble, and I was like, okay, this could be dangerous if we got crit, but the Nuzlocke doesn't start. But speaking of crits, we get a crit there. Go to level 6, and this guy decides to give us something if we get this quiz right. You guys can pause the video if you want to get it right and follow along. But yeah, he gives us a time changer, which is going to be interesting if we get like an Umbreon or something later on, or an Eevee and want to get an Umbreon. And then of course we have to change our frames into the best color, and we set the battle style to set. This person here decides to tell us that we can bring out our Pokemon, we can bring out Charlie, and they can run with us, which is such a cool feature. I missed that from Soul Silver Heart Gold. We speak to the person at the shop who gives us a parcel. We deliver that back to Professor Oak, and then Josh comes and interrupts us as Professor Oak is laying on the moves, trying to, you know, flirt and all that stuff. But Professor Oak gives us these booklets that we have to write notes in about Pokemon. There's a lot of Pokemon, so this should be a long study session. We go and get our first encounter after Professor Oak gives us some Pokeballs, and it's an awesome Beldum. We nicknamed Beldum Tim. I feel like that's suitable. This guy here in the first town gives us an Old Rod, and that was the way I decided to get our second encounter, sorry, which ends up being an Elgyem. We named the Elgyem Neptune. I was going to call it Uranus because they're both out of this world. And this handsome man comes walking along and decides to chat to us and gives us a package, or gives us a present, sorry, the Dex Nav, which is pretty cool. I like the Dex Nav. Our encounter then is a Crandinos, and Crandinos is a pretty cool Pokemon as well. We name it Spike after catching it, and then we go into Viridian Forest and we encounter a Vulpix, which has to be top 10 favorite Pokemon of mine. It uses Incinerate, which does a lot of damage, so I was like, okay, we need to get out of here. We switch out into Charlie. It takes a couple of Incinerates, but this Vulpix just would not get in the Pokeballs. It took us a long time. We use another Pokeball, doesn't catch. Incinerate brings us down to a low yellow, but we're able to heal because we can heal in non-trainer battles. And then we throw another Pokeball at it, and finally it decides to stay in the Pokeball. After naming the Pokemon Lucy, we give all our Pokemon Oranberries, just because, you know, Oranberries are given to us early and they're very useful since we can't heal in trainer battles. Everyone gets an Oranberry, and then we decide to walk across to the Pokemon Mart over here and get a couple of Pokeballs because they're running low. The potions in this game are really cheap, but then we go and get an encounter on Route 22, sorry, and it ends up being a Farfetch'd. Now here was one of my first mistakes in this game. I use a confusion on this thing thinking it's still a flying type, but in this game the typing's updated and it's actually a fighting type. So we destroy that thing, and I was very confused. We then continue exploring Route 22 and encounter Josh. Josh tells us that there's a Pokemon League to our left and we don't have any badges, so we can't fight. So he decides to take us on, and I was very scared because our Pokemon were quite all over the place level-wise, and I didn't know what level he would be. He leads with a level 7 Snubbull, and we leave with Neptune. I knew a couple of confusions would be enough to take this thing out. Our first confusion takes this down below half, and then it uses a power-up punch, which is quite scary. We load up another confusion, but it switches, and then we hit this Slowpoke. Now, we don't really have a good switch in on Slowpoke. I suppose Beldum could have come in and done something good, but I decided to stay in and use some confusions on this Pokemon, and we managed to get a confusion. So we're hoping that it gets hit with confusion. So it heals up with leftovers, which is very interesting. So I decided to take the time to go out to Tim while it's confused, and it hit itself in the face, but the leftover damage kind of, you know, takes away from that. We hit a lovely takedown, which brings it to a low level. The leftovers are quite annoying as it's not able to take it out right now, but then it uses teleport and goes out to Charmander, and our only Pokemon to go out to is Charlie here. It goes for a Fire Fang, which doesn't do too much before a power-up punch, and I'm like, okay, this Charmander can really not touch us. I hit a Water Gun, which brings it way below half, and then it hits a Thunder Punch on Charlie, taking it out. Our first loss of the run is our starter, and I literally brought a tear to my eye. I was so excited to use Popplio, and the fact that it got taken out by one of my least favorite Pokemon as well was really, really hurtful. So out comes Spike. I knew we could live a power-up punch, and we managed to do that. Our Oranberry pops, and then we headbutt this thing to oblivion, take it out, and my hatred towards Charmander just increases more and more and more. Out comes the Snubbull, and I knew a power-up punch was coming, and I couldn't stay in, so we go out to Neptune, and then Neptune is able to tank a power-up punch straight to the face. There's 2 damage, and then we hit it with a confusion, and we managed to take out Josh. And I was still in shock. I was still quite sad. Actually, as Slowpoke, my apologies. We hit a couple of confusions, and as we take a Water Pulse, and our Oranberry pops, which means we can take a few more Water Pulses, and then our confusion takes out Josh finally. And I was sitting there completely shocked. I was so sad. Charlie is still somehow standing there. We named the box RIP just because, you know, that's what we call it. We put Charlie in the box, and the run has really begun, and the sadness has started.